Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to Behind the Cards. My name is Bobby Fierro from Robert Fierro Tarot. For those who have seen the show before, you know what to expect. You know what you're about to see. For those who have not seen the show before, what happens is I interview a variety of people in the spiritual community, mainly in the tarot world, because that's my jam, let's face it. And I learn about their life stories. And I do this by asking them questions based on the 22 major arcana cards. Today's special guest is a dear woman. I've been watching her for the past year or so. Nancy, of Crone's Intuition. How are you doing with tonight, my
I am just thrilled to be with you, Bobby. I've looked forward to this. We had a little
love?
trouble getting together, but this is
Yeah,
the perfect time.
Mother Nature had something to say, huh?
Yes,
For the
yes.
what we mean by that, everybody, is the hurricane that happened recently. Nancy was affected by it, um, and it just breaks my heart that so many people had so many problems. You know,
And there's
were you
still
that?
people that are in bad shape that.
Can you kind of give us a firsthand account what things are like down there?
Well, I mean, now, things are cleaned up. It took a long time for people to go through their homes and because there was flooding. Now my home, was not flooded and my son's wasn't, but my other son's shop was. He has a huge woodworking shop that was his father's and his papa's, and he lost most of his equipment, which was,
Uh-huh.
and because it is in the floodplain, uh, there's no flood insurance. So but we have several rental uh, homes on our property, and some people lost just one guy lost everything. But everybody's rebuilding the community, all pulled together, and I was amazed that we were evacuated by a water rescue team from Raleigh. I was out on my deck talking to my daughter, and the water was about 4 feet high. And here comes this woman holding onto a rope and said, "Okay, honey, it's time to go." And I was like, whoa, this is really happening. And I got to find out what deck I would take.
Ah, what
Yes,
deck was it?
Tarot of the Abyss
Oh,
and the
that's a
Torrent.
great deck. I don't
And
have it, but one of my besties uses it.
I absolutely love that deck. And I also took an angel deck. And I took another tarot deck, which I did not even open. I took the three decks and I pulled one angel card. And the I did two spreads. Once we got to my youngest son's cabin with he and his wife, they rescued us.
Hmm.
And after we had been evacuated, I did a reading then, and then I did a reading when we got ready to return. And the first card that I got from both readings is the Tower. And it
Rebuilding on
definitely, it
good
definitely was a
foundations.
tower. Yeah, it definitely was a tower moment, and you find out what's important, what's really important, you know.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, Nancy, but
Hmm.
I'm really glad that you are okay. Um,
Yes, I mean,
you were
yeah,
so sweet when you canceled because for those who don't know, we were supposed to do this at the time of the hurricane, but she was so sweet when she canceled. Hi, I'm so sorry about this. And I was like, girl, you're in a hurricane. Don't worry about it. I got you. It was, yeah,
I
that was
try
so
to be reliable, but gosh, that was really hard.
right. Uh, for those, you guys, I'm drinking coffee today. That's how uh, hectic like life has been. It's so nice to be able to sit down, relax, and talk to you finally.
Hmm.
And I'm going to enjoy the next hour or so as we learn all about you. Let's take a look at the chatters and see
All
who's here,
right.
shall we? Ange popped in. She won't be able to stay long, she says, but I'm so happy that you made an appearance, Ange. Denise, Heather popped in briefly. I know she's got plans tonight.
Mhm.
Um, Flowing, what's up? Joan Miranda.
Yes.
I just like saying Miranda, like Carmen Miranda. And Moira. And let's see, for right now, I think, oh, Jess. Jay is here from Majestic Oracle. Kristen Louise from Kristen Louise Tarot. All right. Um,
It's a
Hi,
lovely
everybody.
group of
Thanks for
people.
joining us. Yeah. But I have been bragging to everybody who will listen this past week about how wonderful my online tarot community is, and I just love you guys. And I'm sure Nancy feels the same way.
Oh, yes.
So, you ready to jump into it, my dear?
I am ready.
Okay. Uh, First card is the Fool. The Fool symbolizes new beginnings,
Mhm.
innocence, purity, adventure, and rebellion. How did your spiritual journey begin, Nancy?
Well, I guess in my childhood, my parents made sure that I went to church. They thought that that was, I had two very loving, supportive parents, and we went to church every Sunday. I was raised in the Methodist Church, and I continued on with that. I had a lot of questions, um, and I couldn't always get the answers I wanted, you know.
All right.
And when I was in my early 20s, I was going to this Bible study group in our church, and I had started doing astrology charts. Well, when they found out I was doing astrology charts, I was pretty much told I was going to hell in a handbasket if I didn't get rid of all that stuff and burn it, you know. But when I traveled to Europe with a friend, she was an older friend who went with me. I was in my early 20s. And when we were in Amsterdam, she bought a tarot deck. And I really didn't have anything to do with tarot until she was diagnosed and dying with lung cancer. And she sent me the things that she bought in Amsterdam because I absolutely loved Amsterdam. We went other places, but it was the Albano Weight deck. And,
Oh,
and she sent that to me. And so that was my first tarot deck. But I actually got into the spirituality that is tarot and what I believe now. Um, my gateway were crystals.
your gateway
And
drug.
yeah. And then it was Sage Goddess is who I got a lot of my crystals from. And during the pandemic, I discovered Simon at the Hermit's Cave, and I, uh, started meeting people in the community, and everybody was just so wonderful, And from there, my spirituality has grown. I believe in Christ consciousness, and that.
Hmm.
Uh, It is a huge part of who I am and who I strive to be. Um, but I also believe in reincarnation. I believe that I've had past lives. Some of them have been revealed to me, and others, I'm hopefully I have been told by readers that I have lived many, many lives. So I am hoping this is my last rodeo.
You know, I've been having that hope too. It just has a
Hmm.
different. I can't say a different feel like I know what the other lives felt like. It's just when I think about it, it's a different feeling, like I know I do believe in reincarnation. I do believe I have been reincarnated before, at least three times that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been confirmed by one of the gentlemen I went out to dinner with one night who's deals with the same goddess I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was relaying a past life story. I got halfway through it and he finished it.
Oh,
Um,
my goodness.
yeah. So it threw me for a loop.
Yes.
Hello, Paul. Hello, Audra. And hello, Jay. Hello, Julie. Uh, yeah, the
Um,
spiritual journey aspect, I started off in church also. I get the feelings, and it was the same thing. There were too many unanswered questions, too much
yeah.
because I said so, and that just wasn't enough for me.
Well, it's like, it's like blind faith, and you showed that fool card, and I wanted to show you, this is my favorite fool card, because like this fool, I've I've been on this journey a long time, and I finish it and then I start all over again. And I think it is one of the most important things with the journey, with the fool's journey, is to have childlike wonder and to try and see it, each journey, with fresh eyes.
I used to wonder why my life was the way it was, back in the 90s and early 2000s. And then I realized because I stepped onto the fool's road, I entered it through rebellion. The fool is associated with the planet Uranus, which is the planet of rebellion. And
Mhm.
I jumped on the fool's journey, so I can't bitch or complain about anything. I did this to myself.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, let's go on to the magician card. The magician symbolizes willpower, manifestation, creation, communication, which is my favorite aspect, and
Hmm.
building something. The Hebrew letter associated with this is bet. It means house, as in building your spiritual house. Um, what was your first focus when you decided to lean into your spirituality, coming out of Christianity, or adding to your Christianity?
I require a deep spiritual connection. I I have to have a purpose. And I think, looking at the magician, um, I had to learn what tools were available to me and how I could apply them to my life and my journey. And, I mean, it takes a while. I'm still learning, but
We never
um,
stop.
yeah, there's just something so wonderful about the magician, and about how everything he touches is magic, you know? And that to me is very precious. And I think we all need magic in our lives, you know. Um, and I think it helps our spirituality in a huge way. I'm going to move my
You
thing
sip,
over
sip.
here. Yeah, there we go. Um, but and I think as I embrace the magician in my journey, I have more self confidence, and I'm willing to reach out, um, and not just keep it for myself.
That's beautiful. Um, my banners. The High Priestess is our next card, and she symbolizes, let me hold her up.
Yeah.
Intuition, mystery, and the subconscious mind. You made reference to sage goddesses. Who were the first sage goddesses that you started working with?
Well, I I started with my first really serious um, study of goddesses was Caradwen,
Hmm.
and she led me to Gaia. And Gaia is so important to me. Um, and she's bringing in Ellen of the Ways, and I'm interested in the Morrigan. But Gaia is my main goddess, and I have always been a tree hugger. As a child, I loved rocks. I mean, I love to. I mean, not in crystals now. Oh my goodness, but anything that came from the earth, to me is sacred. And one of my children, my youngest son, is a took after his mama and is a tree hugger, big time. And I have a relationship with a tree in my front yard. That there's a long story about that, but um, and I have found that Gaia helps me to be grounded, and especially with the flood. Um, that saying, you don't mess with Mother Nature.
Hmm.
She'll only take so much. And we've really, as a species, really not been too kind to her. And I'm trying to, in my small way, change that. You know.
That's lovely. I love that. I'm the same way. I can't say I make a huge difference on the planet, but I try my best to make a difference, both
Yes.
in the care of the planet and how people care for themselves and the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I love that. Now, the next card up we have is the Empress. Let's change the little words down here. And she represents, or she embodies fertility, beauty, and abundance, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she brings things to life. She's usually shown as pregnant. How did your family react to your widening your spiritual path?
Well, my son David, he's my middle child. He is 1,000% behind me. Um, my other my daughter-in-law, she's very interested in. She is a I guess you would say a green witch, hedge witch, and I just have learned so much from her. And my younger son, I mean, they think it's wonderful that I'm doing this. My daughter, not so much, but my son-in-law is very, very supportive. You know,
Okay, good.
but I have always been. To me, I am the Empress. That's who I am, and I married a man who
I can
allowed
see
me
that.
to become the true Empress. I mean, when I was pregnant, I was all over that. 3 times, absolutely loved it. I felt, I mean, I had life inside of me, I mean, and it was a very, very, very sacred thing. And to me, the home life and the nurturing that you give your children is so important. I came from a very nurturing home, and my husband, who is a deputy sheriff, he worked 2 and 3 jobs so I could stay at home with our children until the youngest one was in high school, and then I went back to work. But and we did without. We didn't have these luxury vacations and everything, but we were
Hmm.
together. And I am proud to say that our children never ever saw any negative discourse between my husband and I.
That's incredible,
Yeah.
especially in this day and
Yeah.
age.
Yes. So, I mean, it's hard work, but it was my important work. It was what I was supposed to do, and now my children are out in the world, and my grandchildren, and um, I
That's
love
an
the
interesting point
synchronicity
you
of
say
that.
right there.
Pardon me?
I said that's an interesting point you bring up. What is going to be the next thing you tackle?
Well, m- my inner sanctum, me. I mean, I still, I guess I could say I'm the matriarch of my family.
Mhm.
And during the flood, I felt that I had to be very strong because Mama's always been strong, and you don't want to go to pieces because then your children are like, oh my gosh, what are we
And
what are
then
we going
who
to
did
do?
you
They
have to
lost
turn
it.
to, though?
Pardon me?
Who did you have to turn to, though?
Well, my children, I mean, they were my strength, but also, I had my tarot deck, and there was a solace in that because that is linked to my spirituality, and I knew that I was going to be all right. What was important was that I was alive, my children were alive, and the people close in my community, nobody close here was lost their life. Now, other
Right,
places, I mean, it was awful, but and there's some people that still don't have homes. I
right.
mean, FEMA really dropped the ball in the beginning. They really did. But anyhow, they're doing better now. But now my job is myself, and to be the best that I can be for myself, and also my family. But the spirituality is key to me. It's so important.
My grandma, I said this before on my channel, my grandma had a couple of sayings. One of them was, unless they paying your bills, pay them bitches no mind, just like RuPaul says. The other one, though, was noti satan, which means know thyself. She wanted us to know ourselves before we knew anything about the world around us, because unless we knew ourselves, everything we saw was an illusion, a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been real conscious about myself, my viewpoint, why I view the things I
Mm-hmm.
do, my belief systems. The next card up we have is the Emperor, which is authority, structure, and leadership. Would you define yourself as a spiritual leader?
I, d- I don't know. I just put what I believe out there, and if it resonates with someone, that's wonderful. But if it doesn't, that's okay too, because everybody's path is different.
Mhm.
And I um, I try to bring positivity and light um, to those around me. And I like to say that in a day, you may be the only light someone sees. And if you don't show that light, if we don't do it as light workers, who's going to do it? I mean, and it's work, it's hard work, but I don't see myself as a spiritual leader. No, I
Well,
mean,
I'll let you in on a secret, dear. A lot of people look to you in your videos for
well,
peace of mind, maybe
mm-hmm,
some guidance. So you're doing, I love your channel. I love seeing you read with groups of people, especially. You're very
mm-hmm,
fluid and smooth with it.
mm-hmm.
The Hierophant is our next card,
Ah,
and the Hierophant represents tradition, spirituality, and teaching. This is the reason I asked about you being a spiritual leader. Have you thought of teaching what you've learned?
I really haven't, but see, I'm still learning. I'm a work in progress. The Hierophant is my birth card.
Really?
And
That's a
a lot of
tourist card.
a lot of people look at the Hierophant and they see negativity, because of maybe negative things that have happened when they were in the church and stuff. Back when I was talking about when I was in the study group and they said to get rid of the stuff, I should have said, no, I enjoy doing it, I'm going to do it. But see, and then that way I would have been on this path for decades and decades longer, because at my age I've only been at this since 2019, maybe 2018, 2019, and that's a very short time. And I'm trying to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can, you know because look at how long you've been in it, Bobby. My goodness.
I
you
was
know
just thinking that, yeah, I have learned a lot, but I learned it the hard way. I would
yeah.
rather have not learned it from the inside out. It would have not been as painful. But
hmm
everyone's agreeing. Moira says, you're a gifted teacher, she says.
well, thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that. I do.
do
It's
you,
nice that people can connect with what you're trying to put out there. That's wonderful. Thank you.
I'm going to mute you for a second. Hold on. My dogs are in the living room barking.
Were you
And
using your alpha voice?
I did. Did it show in my face? Sorry.
Yes. I know that's okay. But if I'm your dog, I am just doing exactly what you want me to do.
I feel bad because we inherited them from my husband's cousin who passed away last year, and they were neglected for the most part. They weren't really treated like house dogs. And now
Mm.
I've got two dogs who have emotional problems that I have to be very careful with. I don't want to hurt their little fragile psyches or whatever it is. I just want them to be good little doggies. So I try not to yell at them. The Hierophant. Now, when I see the Hierophant, again, the teaching aspect comes to mind. If you were going to start teaching something, what would it be?
I think probably to look for joy and positivity, because we're living in such strange times. You know, things are not like they were when I was a child. And there was bad stuff then too. We just didn't hear about it because we didn't have news 24/7 and all of this. But I think I think that I want to learn more about chakras, and I want to do more readings. I try when I do readings. I try and put a positive spin on them. Because I mean that's what I think is important, because what I would teach is how we grow and become the light
Right.
that we were sent here to do. I mean, we came back here for a reason. I mean, if you believe in reincarnation.
Yes, I
And
do.
I think it has taken me this long. I'm 77. In May, I'll be 78. And it's taken me this long to embrace exactly what I should have been doing in other lives. And I think that was my lesson, you know. And that's I guess that's my message, that
So
if
you
we're
want to
not
spread
right
more
people,
light and love around the planet.
yeah. I mean, if we're not, if we, okay, if we cannot try and love everybody, I mean, if we can't do it, nobody can.
May
You know,
I
I mean,
share something with you about that?
yes,
Um,
please.
I have a vision or a thought that crosses my mind a lot over the years. And it is if I die and I'm standing before my deities and they're saying, you know, you were in this situation and this situation and this situation,
Mhm,
why didn't you try to help?
mhm,
That is what the question. Why didn't you try to help? That's what guides me. So I try to help out whenever I
mhm,
can. And I try to be not arrogant because as a young man, I was an arrogant little fuck. Um,
mhm.
I looked good, I knew it, and I wanted
Yeah.
everyone else to know it too. I was a
Yeah.
cute little psychic, and
Oh.
you can watch some of my videos about how arrogant I was, but I was a dick when you come right down to it. And I spend my life now trying to make up for all the bull crap that I pulled. I want to balance those scales because I do believe in balance,
Yes. Yes.
duality. What does this say? The dogs need time. It took almost a year before. Milo was. Yeah, that's Madeline and Teensy, and they're now comfortable enough to run around with the other dogs, and they'll jump up on our laps and cuddle. But they're the type of puppies that will come in with the rest of the pack and stand in the middle of the room until you direct them on what to
Mhm.
do. Like, come on, baby, you can come up.
Well,
So
you
I
know,
just,
what you were saying is it's easy to love someone that's lovable. That's really easy, you know? But to love somebody that just makes you crazy,
yeah,
that, really fills you with, rage sometimes, that's what's hard. And I was friends with my children's, two of my children's had the same kindergarten teacher. And she was talking to me and she says, you have wonderful children. You've worked really hard, you know, but she said, not all children are lovable. And she said, I have my class. She said, like, I have like 24 students or however many students she had. And she said, I have to focus on something that is lovable for each one of these children. And she said, your children are easy. But she said, there are some that I have to really struggle to find something that I can love in them so that
yep,
I can help them go forward, as they're learning. I mean, this is a kindergarten teacher. And it's true, and I really appreciated that because I think about that, really often. And with all this political stuff and everything, there's so much dissension, and we have, what is that saying? Hate the sin but love the sinner.
yeah. I've
You
heard
know,
that my whole life.
yeah.
People saying,
Um,
"No, I'm not. I don't hate you because you're gay. I hate the sin, not the sinner." I'm like telling them, "Go
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think that we have to try. I mean, we have to try to be loving, even when there's somebody that, irritates us or whatever. And it's I'm sure where you're coming from is very difficult because people can be so very cruel.
Yeah, they
You
can.
know, I
I
have
try
not
to, if I can't
experienced it.
love them, I try to at least understand them.
Yeah. Yeah.
At
Whether,
least that gives me something.
but see, I have lived a very blessed life. I mean, uh, the biggest trauma in my life was when my cousin died. I was 13, she was 14, she had a cerebral hemorrhage. And that is the most traumatic thing that's happened to me in my life. I have lived a blessed life. I had wonderful parents, wonderful relatives, very close. I'm an only child, and so I was very close to my extended family. And I was very fortunate in the raising of our children. I chose a man who was a good husband, And so I have not had a lot of strife and pain that other people have had. And I realize that I look at things probably through rose-colored glasses because I haven't I haven't experienced all of this deep trauma and hurt and um,
Good. Good. I'm
yeah, but
glad
I
you
mean,
haven't. Yeah.
like somebody will say, well, yeah, you can say that because you don't know what it's like, all of this.
That's bull crap because you can still empathize with somebody.
Mhm.
So anybody who
Yeah,
says that is
yeah.
has issues that go deeper than that.
Hmm.
So the next card, speaking of relationships,
Hmm.
is the lovers, which symbolizes love,
Yes.
relationships, and choices. Now,
Hmm.
were you already on this specific spiritual path when you met your husband? How did you meet your husband?
Well, it was kind of funny. He was a deputy sheriff, and he his roommate. I worked with his roommate's wife at the hospital. I worked in the emergency room, and she kept telling Ricky, I have this nice Christian girl that I want you to meet. And he said, I don't want a nice Christian girl. But she kept on and on and on. And finally he said, all right, Barbara, okay, I'll do it, And we went out on a blind date, and I think that we saw a movie. The movie was Al Pacino and Justice for All. But we just clicked it off. And my father was very, very empathetic. And they did not tell me this, but when they came to the house to pick me up, Ricky came in by himself. And of course, when we got married, I was 33. So I guess I was 30, maybe 32. And he was too. We were the same age. And so I had gone out quite a bit. I was looking for the right guy, but my parents had a happy marriage, and that's what I wanted. But anyhow,
Right.
when we left to go on our date, my father turned to my mother and said, "He's the one." And like 5 months, 6 months later, we were engaged, and we were married in September of 1980.
Does he share
So
any similarities in
we were
spirituality to yours?
well. He was raised by a very I guess you could say a religious fanatical mother,
Mm.
and who was also abusive. And he, said that my mother taught him about unconditional love, which I think is very sad that you don't learn that from your own mother, but that was the way it was. And he went to church with me every Sunday until we got married. And then he stopped. And
Yeah.
I took the children, because that's what you do. But then as they got older and I started thinking about other things, um, we just stopped going to church, and now nature's my church.
I
Yeah,
love that you can
yeah,
learn from the things around
hmm,
you on a daily basis.
yeah.
Uh, our next card up is the Chariot. And the Chariot is about determination, control, willpower, and movement. You've mentioned that your children are your strength, your family is your strength. Um, would you describe yourself as being controlling?
No,
Hey,
not at all.
that's good.
Not at all. Um, I did with our children. I encourage them to aim high. If like our daughter, education was very, very important to her. And, I encouraged her, to aim high, apply to schools that will be a stretch, you know, and she had good grades, and she went to Davidson College here in North Carolina, which is, I mean, it's an excellent, excellent college. It's the sister school of Duke,
Wow.
and she got a really good education. She has a good job, but I encouraged her to, you know, don't just settle. Do, you know, do the best that you can, and try and have a job that you love so that you don't work a day in your life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, and you know, my uh, youngest son he has a woodworking shop and he loves what he does, and they are not able to have children, and they travel the world and have all these wonderful experiences. My middle child is he is disabled, and he takes care of me. You know, I mean, he lives next door, and he is a wonderful, wonderful support. You know, but he is bipolar and has ADHD and is Social Security disabled, and we have such an incredible bond. It's I there's a connection from previous lives or something, I believe.
Another aspect of the chariot is that it's a card of Cancer. Cancer deals with your lineage, your bloodline, your family.
Hmm.
Do any of your children, did they inherit your sense of intuition?
I don't know. I don't. My daughter is very. She's a Type A personality, and she is very, you know, focused on her family and raising her children, and she to her, she would not understand this at all. Not really. I mean, I don't even think she's, you know, interested in, you know, whereas her son is absolutely fascinated. I mean, not her son, her husband is absolutely fascinated by it. But I don't I don't I don't know that I don't know if my children are intuitive or not. I know my father was.
It'll be,
I
oh,
feel like I am. And my mother was very, very strong, but she was a very loving, compassionate woman. Um, but I don't know. You know, I never thought about that.
I do believe that everybody has the potential to do
Hmm.
what we do. It's just that we have spent time practicing at it
Yes.
and
Yes.
studying it, which gives us a leg up. But that doesn't mean that the general public around us can't do what we do. They just
Right.
don't focus on it like we do.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I'm
mean, if
I'm
my daughter
intrigued to see
put
how
all of
this
her
goes.
attention into this, she would be phenomenal. But she's not interested in it, and that's fine. You know, I mean, we all have a different path, you know. And I was late coming to it, and maybe she will be too. I mean, we just don't know. But
Everybody's making comments. Joanne says, I set boundaries for my protection, even though they're sometimes viewed by others as control.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Everybody in my family knows that you either accept me or you can kiss my ass, one or the other.
Yeah.
There is no in between. You know, I have no problem saying that I don't want you in my life. And my family, I come from a family of psychics and witches and intuitive people.
Mhm.
One of my favorite jokes is that my sister is not anybody who believes in psychic abilities for the most part,
Mhm.
and she will claim to not have any psychic abilities. But I remember a period of time when she was having difficulties that every computer she sat down at to try to use would blow up. So she can't tell me that she doesn't have some kind of gifts because she was
Yeah.
overloading electronics.
Yes. Well, you know,
Um,
with the children, you know, I told my daughter one time. I said, you know, I am your mother. I am still your mother, and I would never do anything or say anything knowingly to hurt you. I am the adult in this relationship, even though she is now an adult. But I told her, I said, that will change. And there will be a time when you are the adult and I am the child, if I live that long. And I said, the only thing I can say is please be gentle, you know,
I can accept that.
because I have been, I mean, you know, a mother, no, you talk about triggers. A mother could absolutely say devastating things,
Yeah,
you know, but
I know.
why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? You know, now if I say something or do something and it's, you know, I mean, it just happens. But it was not, you know, that's different. I'm talking about knowingly, you know, setting out to make their day awful, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, my mom tried. She worked 3 jobs, so my grandma raised us pretty much. Um, for the most part, when it comes to my mom's raising us, we were raised by wolves, so she had control of us. We were latchkey kids, Gen X. Went to school, came home, locked ourselves in, which we didn't. We were running the streets, um, miles and miles away from our home at age 7, 8, 9.
mm,
Um, the words that a parent uses can be devastating, even if it's offhand. My mom had a habit of, when I was too happy, pointing out why I shouldn't be that happy. But I
oh,
know she loved me. She was a good
yeah,
mom.
yeah, yeah.
But
And we
yeah,
have to understand where people are coming from too. When that, you know, I mean, it's like, you
oh
know, sometimes you know you have to realize what a person went through before they got to you this day, you know, and
yeah,
that they say something or do something because they're just so frustrated and it has nothing to do with me, you know, but like whoa, you know, and so why would I turn that around and be ugly too,
yeah.
you know.
My grandma, my aunties, all the ones who were more spiritual in the family taught us the golden rule when we were
Mhm.
kids, and walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. That was a big thing. So I learned how to
Mhm.
empathize with people at a very early age. My mom, just to close this question out, um, when it comes to, you were saying role reversal and having to take care of her,
Mhm.
she says, just stick me in a room with a bag of weed and I'll be fine. That's
Oh
pretty much
yeah.
how much my mom is. So she's a hoot. Let's see. My mom always met me at my level with love and support. Well, good for you, Joanne. I'm
Yes.
glad that people have these type of parents. Right now, we have the strength card, and the strength card embodies inner strength and resilience. Can you give me a situation outside of the hurricane where you were really feeling like you didn't know if you had the strength to go on?
um my husband's illness, he was disabled for a long time. And you know, the children and I used to laugh because he was dying for 20 years. You know, I mean, he
That's what
thought,
my mom
I mean,
says about me.
yeah, yeah. And the last, well, during the pandemic, right before the pandemic is when he got really sick. And I was his main caregiver. Now, the children were supportive, but even David living next door, you know, I mean, I was his main caregiver.
Right.
And he, I mean, my husband was 6'6", a very like a gentle giant, but you did not cross him. I mean,
Mm.
he would literally, if the need be, he would have killed for his family. You know, I mean, he was, you know, but of course he was like a gentle giant and he spoke very quietly. But, you know, you better watch out if you do something that's wrong. I mean, you know, like when he would go on a domestic violence um, call, he'd say, "Watch your head," and bang them into the car when they, give them a little bit of their own medicine. But anyhow, when he got sick and when he changed, it was very difficult because he was not the man that I married. And of course, he was, but it was a tremendous adjustment because our lives changed so drastically. And my eyes would leak. I would just be sitting there. I mean, I wouldn't sob or anything, but there would just be these tears that would run down my face. And I told the doctor, I said, I can't be sitting there crying in front of him. And she says, well, in many ways, it's like a death. And she put me on Prozac, which helped because then I wasn't crying. But I became terribly depressed. And I would get up towards the end, I would get up and take care of him. And I just wanted to sleep all the time. And then when he, his final illness, he had to be hospitalized, and he was not strong enough to come home, and he had to go into a nursing home. And after he got to the nursing home, well, it was a rehab. They were going to rehab him. He had caught COVID in the hospital, and that was the beginning of the end. But I would have to go, and his personality completely changed because of dementia. And it was just harrowing when I would go there. And I just didn't do anything. I just shut down. I would go and see him. I would do, and when he passed, it was in March of 2023. And I was in such bad shape. I had just let my house go. I had, let myself go. I mean, and I had no strength.
Right.
But I got it back. It took like baby steps, and right now I am very happy. I love my husband dearly. But it was really hard, because when you live with someone who has not had a good day in 5 years, I mean, that is really, really, really hard.
I
And
don't know if you know this, but my husband is in a similar situation. He spends over 20 hours a day in bed.
oh,
Um, and what you say about the personality change resonates hard because he
mhm,
went from this confident,
mhm,
know-it-all Capricorn man who
oh,
I turn to for everything, um, to somebody who just has no willpower, who's
mhm.
making comments like he can't wait to die. Um, it
Yeah.
tears you apart inside.
Oh yes, oh yes, it does. And looking back on it, like, okay, when he was admitted to the hospital, from the rehab center. Um, they kept him alive. They had a central line that they kept him alive so we could all get there.
Right.
And all the children gathered. Our daughter came in. It took her 2 hours to get here, and we had been there for hours, and he didn't he well, they couldn't keep him alive. I mean, this strong medicine was keeping him alive, but we had to make the decision to stop that medicine.
Right.
And he was very, very close to our daughter. Of course, she does not live here, so he did not see her as often as he did the boys. And I was absolutely exhausted. And I asked Robin, after the boys and my daughter-in-law left, I asked my daughter if she would take me home. I said, I just can't stay any longer.
Right.
And she did, and she went back. And I felt in my soul that Robin was the person who was supposed to be with him when he passed. I wasn't. I had done my thing, and it was her turn, you
Right.
know. And because it's very precious when, when a soul leaves. And I wanted that for her, you know. And and I'm, I have no regrets that I was not there because I wasn't supposed to be,
Right.
I believe that, and we're, I mean, we have many, many happy memories, but it was hard. I mean, it was really hard. And
Sometimes I feel like I don't know the man I'm with. We've been together
Mhm.
25 years, and it's like, who the
Yeah,
hell are you? Where did this come from? And
yeah.
um, it part of the reason I'll share this with you. Part of the reason I'm working so hard to build the website, my business, my
Mhm.
YouTube, everything is to show him that I don't care if you're terminally ill. Get your ass up and do something. I'm ill. Um,
Yeah,
until I'm forced to stop, I'm not going to. So I've
yeah,
had time to
yeah.
deal with this. He hasn't. This is all in the past few years, and I'm hoping just by being supportive and showing him another path that it'll sink
Hmm.
in. I can't force him to do something. I can only hope and pray.
Yeah.
I married a good Christian boy, so my spirituality doesn't work for him, but
Hmm.
he's very supportive of my beliefs, and I'm very
Hmm.
supportive of his. Um,
Well, it's like, my husband and I were polar opposites. We didn't have really anything in common, really. I mean, other than the children. And I mean, he worked all the time. And when he became disabled, I was like, oh, whoa, what's this going to be like, him home all the time?
mm,
But it worked because we loved each other. But, and we gave each other room. If he wanted to go play poker with the guys or go to
oh
a
yeah,
car race or whatever, and I would do my thing, and it just worked. But it's hard when this happens, and it does require a tremendous amount of strength. And I'm just thankful I got my strength back,
good.
you know, because
All right, Stella, she got her groove back.
mhm, yeah, but
So the next card up. I thank you for sharing that, Nancy. That was very personal, and I appreciate that.
mhm,
Uh, the Hermit symbolizes introspection, wisdom, and solitude. I really don't have a question for this card. Um, you kind of already answered it with the strength question. They kind of lead into one another. When you were dealing with that, how did you find your way back out of the stage of pulling back?
well, I am the hermit. I am a hermit. I mean, I've always been a hermit. I'm an only child. I enjoy my own company. I
Isn't
require
this the year of the Hermit?
it is. That's what they say. I require time alone by myself.
Mm.
I think that's why my first sacred space was a closet, because I would just go in there and I would be by myself, and I could think, and I could, and I didn't have any disruptions or anything like that until my husband wanted to know, why are you in the closet?
You can't make me go back in the closet, Nancy.
But what was the question again? I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent.
How did you pull out of the hermit mode? Um,
Oh, well, with well, it was a slow process. I didn't get into my husband's room um, for a year after he passed. I just couldn't go in there and go through his stuff. And I mean, he had a car radiator, a truck radiator in his closet. I mean, there was just all this stuff. He rebuilt vehicles and stuff. I mean, he antique vehicles and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, it was just baby steps. It took a while, and finally the children could say, "Mama's back." You know, um,
good.
but I don't know. To me right now, life is really good, you know, and I credit a lot of that to my spiritual practice. It means everything to me, because it's who I am now, you know.
Before I forget to tell you this, you were saying Christ consciousness on the tree of life,
Mm-hmm.
which tarot is based
Mm-hmm.
off of. You've got Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, and then Tiferet. Tiferet is the sixes in tarot. That is the Christ consciousness. That's where we find our rebalancing, our
Mm.
redemption. Um, and I've always loved that. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people shy away. If you do tarot, it's a lot of people, let's be honest, have not had great luck with the Christian church. So they've turned their attention in different directions.
Mm.
Tarot is chock full of Christian symbolism. So people
Yes.
need to understand that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the wheel, the wheel is natural cycles and change of luck. How do you go with the flow? Do you handle things in stride, or does it really throw you for a loop when things change?
No, I just keep plodding. I just keep going, you know. Just keep going. Just keep,
Just keep
I
swimming.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, because I don't know. I think you always have to cultivate hope, and you always have to look like I look. I mean, I don't know how much longer I have on this earth. I mean, there's a lot of longevity in my family, and I am hoping that I live a long time because I love life, but I'm not afraid of death. And
Mhm. Not looking
I
forward
think
to it,
the
but I'm not
wheel. Well,
afraid of it.
yeah, really, it's well. There's another question for this, another card for that. But I think that life is full of cycles, and it's like the wheel turns, and the wheel of the year. When you look at that, we have different seasons in our life, and uh, talking about Gaia, I mean, a lot of people get really depressed in the wintertime because all the trees are bare. And they don't like that. They think it's depressing. To me,
Mhm.
it's inspirational because they're alive. They're nurturing themselves so that they'll be ready in the spring. And that's what I try to do in the wintertime is nurture myself so that I will be ready to shine brighter. This is a time of introspection and study for me. And I look forward to the fall and winter every year. And it goes too quickly, because
What
there's so
you just said about, um, I can't remember how you worded it, but it made me think of the fixed signs that surround the wheel. They
mm-hmm,
dig their heels in, and they do. I just want to say that they dig their heels in.
mm-hmm.
And are you stubborn when you dig your heels
I'm very stubborn. My children talk about it all the time.
in?
You know,
She's famous for it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I come from a stubborn father. And my husband was stubborn, so my children should be really stubborn. I don't know, but they say, and what David will say, he'll say, "Mom, you shouldn't do that. You're 77 years old. What if your mother was doing that? What would you have said to her? Would you, you know, you need to be careful." And I'll okay, but I have to do stuff, David. I can't just sit here. I need to move around and do stuff. I have neuropathy in my lower legs and my feet, and so I have some difficulty walking. And I have to be careful because when you can't feel the bottom of your feet, you know, well, if you You know what I'm talking about, Bobby, right?
Yeah, I do. I
I
sadly
had
I do.
really
Yeah.
bad varicose veins, and when I had them stripped, it, you know, it caused that, and also I have lymphedema in my left leg.
Yeah, my diabetes, I've got the
Hmm.
um, neuropathy in both legs and feet. And
Well,
it
I'm not
is
diabetic,
not pleasant.
but you know, uh, I know that it's just something you have to deal with. You have to.
Yeah, I'm diabetic because my generation was raised on Kool-Aid. So
Uh, yeah.
that's what happens. So we have the Justice card, which symbolizes fairness, balance, and truth. Um, what do you find unfair more than anything else in life?
That all children don't have the same opportunities. I
That's a good
look
answer.
at children that don't have parents that are supportive and try to give them their every opportunity. Now, I know that, I mean, there are different financial levels and things, but there's some children that are just left out there pretty much to figure it out on their own. And I think that's very sad because we worked really hard with our children, and my daughter and son-in-law, they both have really good work at home jobs, and they are able to give their children every opportunity, and they are cherished. And children don't have, it's unjust. Not everybody.
Yeah. I that's the biggest bone of contention with uh my mom and I, me trying to get into a frame of mind where I understand that she had to work all these jobs to take care of us and couldn't be
Mhm.
there. And then another part of me is, well, certain parts of our life you knew about still didn't step in. So
Yeah.
I, that's I'm having to forgive myself and my mom and my grandma and everybody in my family for certain things. And um, I can't look at life like a kid anymore. I can't look at it like a child. I have to be grown up and understand where other people are
Hmm.
coming from.
Hmm.
Um,
I think
let's
that's
go ahead.
interesting what Mara just said. But perhaps if we believe that we are born into the lives we are meant to experience, and it's all okay no matter what. Um, I don't. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, maybe we were born into this life to learn the lesson of poverty, or to learn the lesson of neglect, or to learn the lesson of hope.
well,
Um,
it could. I mean, it could be that in a previous life, someone had everything and they just threw it all away,
yeah,
and so now they have nothing and they have to learn.
I
I
think
mean,
about that.
who knows?
I really did think about that.
Yeah.
Am I dealing with this because I didn't deal with it well before? Is
Mm-hmm.
this karmic debt that I'm having to
Mm-hmm.
pay off? And then there's also the belief that I have about um, your bloodline karma, that
Mm-hmm.
you carry the weight of that. And one of my ancestors was a well-known uh, serial killer. Not
Oh.
serial killer, but he worked for the Mexican government. He murdered
Oh.
thousands of people.
Oh.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
so I'm trying to deal with that also.
Yes.
Um, and then realize that I don't have to bear the full weight of it. So,
No.
um,
No.
yeah, there's what we say as an adult, we're constantly learning, um,
Yeah.
and having to readjust our thinking. That's part of being a grown up.
Mm-hmm.
And Joanna says, I'm always looking to see and be gratitude, have
Yeah.
gratitude. Yeah, exactly. Every morning I wake up and as I let my body stop hurting when I wake up. I sit there in bed and read my phone and go over the things I'm grateful for that day and the things that I don't want to deal with
Mhm.
that day. And I always ask myself the same question before I put my phone down. Are you going to die today? Nope, not today. Get up. So, not today. That's my big thing. Now, our next card up is the Hanged Man, and he symbolizes surrender, perspective, and sacrifice. One of the things I love about this card is that it's associated with Neptune, the planet of dreams and
Mm.
illusions, um, as well as spirituality. The next few cards are all kind of tied in with each other, actually.
Mhm.
What was the hardest thing you had to reconcile, or the most difficult thing you had to reconcile between your Christian upbringing and your goddess beliefs? What
Well,
was the hardest way to reconcile this?
how I had been so rigid before. I wanted to be
Nancy, you tell that story. Somebody just rang my doorbell. I'll
oh,
be right
okay.
back.
Okay. Um let's see. I think that looking at things from a different perspective is very, very important. When I go back to the way I was when I was practicing Christian, and I still believe a lot of the things that I believed. Uh, but now it's like Jesus or Christ is one of my guides, um, and I think um, reconciling that a lot of what I believed was in story form for me personally. Um, at one point when I was younger, I wanted to be a missionary. But it was more that I wanted to help people rather than like bring the word. I wanted to help make lives better. But I think that when we look at things from a different perspective and we try and see things from other people's perspectives, it helps us on our journey. And I don't see any sacrifice in that. Um, I mean, Odin was upside down, and I mean, he there was certain sacrifice in that. But I have never, looking at different perspectives and surrendering to things to me has been a positive growth thing rather than something negative.
Uh, Maru says she was going to be a missionary to China, but
Yeah.
things happened. And
Yeah.
I was also going to be a missionary in the church for a little while when I was young until they found out about me and kicked me out.
Oh, well,
Um,
see, I had just shared that when I was younger, I wanted to be a missionary, and I don't know. I have had I think some of that had to do with my past lives. You know, go into that too. It's kind of intertwined.
um,
If that makes sense.
yeah, it does. I don't regret anything about my spiritual. My mom was a witch, but she did send us to Christian school for a couple of reasons. One was because she didn't want to be blamed for pushing her beliefs on her young children.
Hmm.
So she wanted us to see life from both sides. But also, I went to Christian school because I got kicked out of every other high school in the district, so they had to send me there.
Ooh, you were a
Yeah, it was you. I left home at 15, and I stole the car to do it. And
Oh my.
for the next 5 years or so, I was living a very rough life. The Hanged Man is perspective, and I think you've answered the question on perspective. Um, I think that anybody who could see past their circumstances and see another way to do things is a blessed person.
Hmm.
They have a way of seeing other perspectives. That is phenomenal to me. And since you're that type of person, it just makes my heart happy. Now, what some consider one of the most difficult cards, the death card, which I don't really consider it a bad card. It's just sudden change. Um, was there ever any doubt as a young person about your spirituality, or were you all in because that's all you knew at that point?
No, I mean, I mean, I was, a true believer. I mean, I didn't, but to me, I don't know, the death card to me, I love the death card.
So do I.
And I, I can, I often say that my parents taught me how to live and they taught me how to die.
That's
And
beautiful.
I look at death as my biggest adventure because just imagine you're here and then all of a sudden you're there. And
Yeah.
there's this bright light, and you're back with your guides and angels and beings from other realms. I mean, it's like a coming home, but it's
Yeah.
not the coming home. It's like when my mother died. She she was almost 92, and she maybe she I told her, I said, as long as you are good and don't try and get out of bed and hurt yourself, we'll keep you home. I will not put you in a nursing home, but you
Mhm.
have to stay in bed unless someone is helping you. She was very good, but when she passed, she maybe weighed 60 pounds.
Oh,
She was very dehydrated. Hospice had come in, and her skin was like papyrus paper.
yeah.
Um, her
My great
little
grandma,
her
same thing.
little tongue was hard as a rock. There was no moisture or anything. And when she passed, she had tears in her eyes. And she would not leave as long as I was in the room. And the hospice person called, and they couldn't understand why she was still alive. And she said, "Give her some space. Are you always there?" And when I went back in, she had tears in the corner of her eyes. And I choose to believe that whatever she saw was so beautiful it brought tears to her eyes. Now that's how I interpret that, because she had none. I mean, she,
Hmm.
you know, and um and I journaled that, and I forgot it, and I picked up a journal, and I saw it again, and I thought, how could I have forgotten that? I'm so thankful that I journaled it. But I don't want to die in a fiery crash. It's how you get there is what thing people are worried about, I think, not actually
Yeah.
the transformation.
I'm not
But
afraid of dying. I'm afraid of the pain of death. I'm not
yeah,
looking forward to it, but I
yeah,
know it'll be short-lived. So,
right, right. But I don't I think in a way, my spiritual path has been a death and a rebirth,
yes.
because the things that I was taught to believe when I really thought about it, some of it just to me, did not make sense. And so now I have gotten to a place where, I mean, and I guess a lot of people don't understand how 78 cards um, can mean so much spiritually, but they do.
They really do.
And it's like, when I left with that, the terror of the abyss, when we were evacuated, I found such comfort in that deck, because the messages were, just very profound and very nurturing in the moment as to what was happening. It reflected exactly what was happening.
Right.
But the second time I did the reading, when we were getting ready to come home, is the last card was positive, rather than kind of like in limbo, and I found great solace in that, because I thought, this is true.
Right.
I mean, how can you, I mean, it's kind of like the spread that I did before, that I shared with you before about, to me, that is exactly what's happened.
Um, Before we go on to the next card, I want to touch on something real quick. You talked about you do believe in reincarnation after
Mm-hmm.
death. What is one of the lifetimes that you touched on in your practice so far?
Well, I do automatic writing, and when I
Cool.
meditate, I have a book that I write things in, and I have a cross. I'm not a cross, a rosary. Now I'm not Catholic, but it was gifted to me by a friend. It's made out of crushed rose petals,
I
and
got
I
my
have
dad's
always felt
rosary. So
very, very close to that. I don't understand why. I saw it in a shop, and I mentioned it to this friend of mine that was Catholic. And I said, if I was ever going to get a rosary, I'd get that rosary. And my next birthday, here comes that rosary from Christine. But anyhow, I had in my automatic writing, one of my lives was I was a nun in um, a mission, or in ancient Spain. And I did not realize it, but this
um,
rosary came from there.
Want
When
to hear
I
something
read the
funny?
literature about it,
One of my former lives, I was a cardinal in Spain.
were you my
Yes.
cardinal, Bobby?
No, no, I just thought that was
because
funny when you said that.
because what I wrote about it was, this probably, let me see here if I can find it. There's so much. And it was about old stone walls. Go quietly to the fire. Mind your robes. Don't touch the hearth. Grasp your rosary. Pray, pray. Later, walk to the fields and garden. Gather herbs. Make poultices. Feel his presence. Pray, pray, pray. Forgive, forgive always. Spain, a cliff overlooking the water, the sea. That's what I got. And then the other, I shared this with Heather. I haven't told anybody else this, but our daughter, her minor was in Asian studies, and she spent a semester in Shanghai, China.
Hmm.
And at the end of the semester, I flew over and we did China for a month. And when I went to the Great Wall, it was not easy we went on a tour, but it's very high elevation. It was outside of Beijing where we went. And when I got up on the wall, I sat down and I was filled with, I can't explain it, such contentment, such peace. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. and I could never explain it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a wonderful experience, but it was more than that, you know? Well,
Right.
the other night I had a dream, and I was this Chinese man in work clothes, which looked kind of like they were like navy pajamas.
Right.
And he and I were working on the wall. And all of a sudden, he was sitting where I was sitting, and I became him in my dream.
Hmm.
And I believe that I died on that wall in one of my lives.
That's probable.
And I mean it well, I've never had a dream like that, you know, where I saw this man, but I knew it was me. And then at the end of the that part of the dream, he became me physically, where he was sitting where I was sitting on the wall, and then all of a sudden he was gone and I was there.
Right.
It's like he was inside me. So I mean, those are two that, and I have been told by some readers that I had a life in Victorian England, um, at the turn of the century, and I had a really awful family, uh, and maybe that's why I have such a wonderful family in this life. I don't know, you know.
My three lives that I've come across um, back in the early 90s, I think it was 1992, is when I had this reading, and it was my first real past life reading because as I sat down with the man to do the session, I felt him grab hold of my own personal power and lead me down this wormhole was the visualization.
Oh my
And he
goodness!
was
Yeah.
saying, okay, we're going to shift to the left, we're going to shift to the right. But the thing is, before he started saying we're going to shift to the right, I already felt it moving in that direction.
Mhm.
And the lives he told me, one was a warrior type in ancient, like Attila the Hun type time. So that's the one I told you. My friend finished the story.
Mhm.
I was a warrior priest, and then a Spanish Catholic uh, with the
Mhm.
red cap on, cardinal in the church.
Mhm. Oh my.
And the third life was uh, like a Caribbean woman with dark skin and dark hair on the beach with gauzy white, but she was a
Mhm.
priestess because she had her arms raised, was the visualization. So
Mm.
every life that came up, I was some form of spiritual guide. And it got me thinking that I'm meant to deal with something in that arena. So I've made my focus, my spirituality, and now I try to help other people be a
Mhm.
guide and this and that. But I didn't mean to go on about me. Let's get back
Well,
to
that's,
you.
you know, one thing I did want to share is I have become very close with Preonite, and it is a very good stone of connecting to your guides, your angels, higher power. And I was meditating with this. Well, actually, it was this piece of Preonite that I was meditating with, and I had told you about my cousin's dying when she was 14, and how devastated I was. And I was meditating with this stone, and all of a sudden, she was with me. I was drenched in her essence. I could feel like I felt when I was in her presence when I was a little girl. And
Mhm.
I couldn't believe that it was Helen. And I just, I just said, "Oh my goodness." And she, you know what she said? "I've waited so long for you to be ready." And I had gotten to the point where, my guides are coming in, and, I'm learning who they are. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them I've had for a long time.
Right.
And she was waiting for me, and she had accomplished what she was supposed to do in her life. And then, I don't know, maybe several months later, she brought in her father, my uncle. And if somebody had told me that my Uncle Frank was going to be a spirit guide, I would have laughed in their face, you know. But he came in, I had the preonite, and he said, "Hey, sugar." And I was like, and it had to be her because I just don't know, you know.
Right.
But there's just all kinds of mysteries, and it all evolves pretty much around death and spirituality and rebirth, you know, and being open to that. And that's the great adventure. But I'll
Yes.
stop.
That's a big topic. We could do a whole show on that topic alone
Yes, we
right there. We should
could.
talk about that. The next card up, let's go over to here, is Temperance. Now, Temperance embodies balance, moderation, and harmony. The thing I like about the Temperance card is because it also means support. The Hebrew letter for this is samek, and that means prop, something that props you up, supports you. What would you say the biggest support to your path has been? Who has supported you more than anybody?
Well, I guess as far as this path is the tarot community. You know,
We do have a
I
great
mean,
community.
you know, because they have been there, you know, and I have learned so much from everybody, and everybody has been so nurturing, and I have only positive experiences, and I just love everybody in this community, and I have learned so much from them, and I think temperance is the key. You know, if we can have that balance and harmony, if we can embrace
Yeah.
harmony, I mean, that's a beautiful thing, but it's
But
not
the
easy.
whole point of this card is healing. It's blending different areas of your life together to create the
Mm-hmm.
healing you need. It's
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius energy. Um, what message of healing? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you think the world needs to hear more than anything else?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry.
What words of healing, if you were asked, like you are now, what words of healing would you like to say to the world now? The biggest piece of advice.
Oh boy, that's
That's why I asked.
yeah. Be the love you want to see in the world.
Good answer. I love that. We can't cause change until we are change. We
That's
can't
right.
bring about positivity unless we embrace
That's right.
positivity
That's
ourselves.
right. That's right.
So I love that answer. That is phenomenal. So moving on to our next bad boy, the devil symbolizes
Mm.
temptation, moderation, materialism, and control. I'm going to give you a what if scenario. If you did not marry your husband and have your children, what do you think your life would be like?
Well, being totally honest, I desperately wanted children, and I wanted a happy marriage. Uh, but before I moved to these mountains, and I was living in southern Florida, I had an affair with a married man, and I was pretty much, I guess you'd say, his mistress for like maybe 4 or 5 years, and I loved him very much. he was in an unhappy marriage. And I moved up here and I met my husband and we were engaged to be married. And I sent him a wedding invitation.
Do
And he
tell.
wrote me a letter, which I got rid of, saying that he was divorced and he wanted me to come back and he wanted to marry me. And I chose the life that I wanted. I could have gone back to that, but in many ways, he was not exact. I wouldn't say the love of my life, because my husband and I built a beautiful life together. But he was my first obsession, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful, but I was the one that ended it because I saw no future in it. He had 4 children, and he was no longer able to have children. And so I did not want. I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be the empress. I wanted the whole package, you know. And so I made my choice, and temptation can be yummy.
Yeah, it can.
But you have to realize which
It's
path you're going to
temporary.
take and what you want. I mean, what you want to. I mean, I'm sure I would have been very happy, you know, and his children's children would, you know, have been my grandchildren and things like that. But I would not have been the mother I was meant to be, and I would not have been loved as completely as I was by my husband.
Right.
I was on a pedestal. He worshipped the ground I staggered on. I mean, you know, he could not have loved me more than he loved me. And I mean, he just talked about me to everybody. They would tell me, "Do you realize how much Ricky loves you? Oh my gosh, he talks about you all the time." You know, and I wouldn't have had that, you know, because I was able to support and love him in his life, you know, and be the wife that he wanted, you know. So, did that answer your question?
Good enough. Uh, yeah, the Tower is our next card, and this deals with upheaval, sudden change, and revelation. It's also associated with the planet Mars, which is very angry and aggressive. What makes Nancy pissed off?
I don't know. People not trying.
Not
You
taking
know.
responsibility is what pisses me off.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, you want the world to change. You want it to be a better place, so you just sit and look out your window and hope it happens. It has to start with us. I mean, that's, I guess, my mantra, you know.
Yeah.
And I I I see tower moments as positive moments because it shapes who we are.
That's opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's like, you know, when we were up at my son's cabin, you know, during the flood, I mean, it was like, you know, we're okay. It's all right. You know, I have a lot of things. I am surrounded by things. You talk about over consumerism. Okay. Here I am, but
Right.
none of it mattered. None of it mattered, you know. And I think we can take tower moments and we can turn them into very positive things. And I think sometimes when bad things happen, it's so that good things can come from it.
Yeah. I When I was young, I told you I lived a rough life. For several years, I was homeless and did a lot of bad things. I was not a good person.
Mhm.
Um, but I also know that without that time in my life, without that upheaval, I wouldn't be who I am today, helping
Mhm.
other people. So I had to go through that, is how I view it.
Mhm.
And I accept the pain that I went through and the pain that I caused. Um, I try to make amends where possible. Yes, I was part of Narcotics Anonymous for a long time before I went back to smoking. Um, and I did that for medical reasons. I think your viewpoint on the Tower card is fantastic. These are our chances
Mhm.
to find out what doesn't work for us and to make adjustments for the future, which leads us right into hope for the future. The next card we have is the Star, which symbolizes hope, inspiration, and renewal and
Mhm.
healing, obviously. Um, you are a shining light, Nancy. When you talk
Oh,
about our tarot tribe, your name is right at the top of the list of the way people
oh,
respect you and respond to your words.
goodness.
Um, I also know that it's not easy being a guiding light. It wears on you sometimes, you know. It really does, you know, because I've had people say similar things to me, and suddenly it changes my view. I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to try to be even better. But no, I don't.
Mhm.
I'm trying to be me and hoping that that is enough. Obviously, you are enough. Um, Cannabis is a lovely state of mind. Yes, it
Yes, it
is.
is.
I
I
use it
wish
for
that
healing
it is
purposes.
not legal here, but you know,
No,
so
it's
I can't really
legal
say
here
that
in
much.
Arizona. Yeah. Then shh. Wait now, though. Um, when I
Um,
see the star, I think about drawing towards spirituality. I am curious to know how the goddesses came into your life, first of all. How did that refresh my memory? How did you feel the tug? How did you know that um, a whole new world was waiting for you, as they say?
well, with I don't know, Caradwin just showed up. She just came out of nowhere.
She knocked on the door.
I mean, yeah, I mean, she just, and I learned about her and her cauldron and how she transformed herself and but the goddess that really I think has probably always been with me and I didn't realize it was Gaia, and she I am aware of her pretty much all the time, and I I treat her with such reverence because of all that she is and all that is created and this beautiful beautiful world that we have that we're really messing up. um, but I look at the crystals and I just think about what's below all the mud and down deep and the just the sacredness of it. And I don't know, I just feel at home when I'm with her. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't now I want to start. I told you about that deck that I have about the morgue, and I want to explore her. And I've got, let's see, where is she? Um, Gaia has brought in Ellen of the Ways for me. I have her on my altar, and
Hmm.
and I think she's like bringing in different aspects of herself. Uh, I don't know. I just I looked in the chat. Somebody was talking about looking up at the stars. I could just gaze at the stars forever. Of course, there's too much
Right.
light around here, but where you are, you can go out in the desert and see gazillions of them.
Absolutely. I could go out in my backyard and it is pitch black. I
Oh,
am out
Bobby.
near
Mm,
Old Town,
yeah.
Old West type stuff. It's beautiful out here.
Oh my
But
goodness.
we do have coyotes, javelinas, uh,
Mm. Are you
jaguars
kind of like out
walking
in
around
the
our neighborhood.
suburbs or
We're in a small town,
small town? Yeah.
a small
Well, there's so
isolated
much light here, that you I mean, now you could go up on the Blue Ridge Parkway and it's absolutely gorgeous because there's no light up there, but um
I
I know.
asked you about the goddesses because our next card was the moon card,
Hmm.
and all femininity is wrapped up in the moon to me. It represents illusion, dreams, and the subconscious. My first goddess, before we get into this, was Diana because my mom was a Dianic witch. So that's
Oh,
how I met Diana. And I was young enough. I have very specific beliefs about Diana. I think that primarily being the virgin goddess of the hunt, women respond more to her. But as a child, I wasn't really a threat. But I reached a certain age where I suddenly felt a distancing from the goddess. I was 15 and things started shifting for me. That's when the male gods started entering my life. And Hermes, um, how do you feel about male deities?
I need to learn more about them because Heather and I have done the divine feminine, and I um I need to study more about them. I'm not being totally honest. I'm not that well acquainted, with them. As far as the moon goes, the moon is my guiding light. I I don't know. The moon's been watching me my whole life, and
True
I
that.
I just love the moonlight, and I know there's mystery associated with it, and you know I am very interested in astrology, but the light has never gone on for me with astrology. I just don't quite get it. I think it has to do with math. I don't know. That's what I'm saying because I
Well, I'll
am
tell
not
you
good.
this.
The light has never gone on with math. With me. I told my husband I'll do all the homework, but you get the math. I'll do
Yeah,
everything else, but you get the math. And I think that what I'm rationalizing is that astrology and math go hand in hand. I don't know,
they
but
kind of do. I'll give
you
you
know
that.
so much about it. I just don't understand all of this. And I have
No,
these
no, no,
books.
no, no. I know tarot astrology.
Oh,
Tarot astrology and astrology are different. Tarot astrology just touches on the very beginning of it.
yeah.
But when you get deeper into it, like Care Bear, Art of Cards, Karen, we love her. She knows astrology. If that woman started talking to me, I would be lost. Marion Kirk, if she started talking to me, I would be lost because
Oh.
they are true astrologers. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, when you add astrology into tarot, like the moon card is ruled by Pisces. That's what's hidden,
Yeah.
and it associates with what's hidden coming to the surface. So it is all tie in, but yeah, it is.
Hmm.
Uh, it can be. I was lost when I first started, and I just kept beating my head against the rock until it made sense.
Hmm.
Um, Going on to our next card, we have the sun. The sun embodies joy, success, and vitality. When you think of the sun, what do you think of?
That it always shines,
I like
always.
that.
Even when it's above the clouds and we can't see it, when you're in an airplane and you go through those clouds and there it is
Mhm.
above that storm. And it may be dark here, and we have the moonlight for that, but it's on the other side of the world. It's bright. It's bright. And when I look at the sun, Um, Sometimes I think if I were the sun, what would I be radiating? You know, uh,
That's interesting.
what can what can I,
Yeah.
you know, how can I be bright? What I don't know. I have
What
such
kind of
fun with
light do you want to shine?
yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that. I have a giant tattoo on my back of a sun with a
Oh,
pentacle in the middle. Um, but the rays are black because I radiate shadow. I balance between light and
ah,
dark. So it's interesting you say that. The sun is associated with Tiferet, the Christ consciousness on the tree of life.
mhm,
So that is why when the sun comes up, it trumps everything around it. If you've got
yes,
the Three of Swords next to it, don't worry, shit's about to get good. You're okay.
hmm,
So I share your enthusiasm
yeah, pure,
for the sun.
yeah.
And Janice said, nice, Nancy. Um, it's hard for us to be sunny all the time. What do you do when you're depressed?
Well, when I'm truly depressed, I sleep. But
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, it's just I'm just that that's the way I was before. But um, I look outside and I see the birds, and I watch the trees and the branches blowing, and just because now it's wintertime, it's cold, it's icy, it's muddy, it's real muddy when it here because all of the topsoil is gone from the flood.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so um and I turn to nature, I guess. And my puppy, I only have one dog now because the others, well, her name is Truffle Britches, the one that we have left. She's 14. And this dog was my husband's dog, and he absolutely ruined her, spoiled her. She had
Mm.
no rules. And so now she has rules. And this dog is an empath. I mean, I don't know. I told David, I said, and she acts like a cat. It's a chihuahua, but she has cat mannerisms. And I said, I think that this must have been Cleopatra to David. This must have been Cleopatra's cat in a former life. And he says, no, Mom. He says, no, Truff was Cleopatra. And I said, well, Cleopatra did something really bad to end up as Truffle, But she's just, she knows when I don't feel good, and she, I mean, animals are like that, but she cheers me up too. She makes me laugh.
Yeah, my little Aria does that to me.
Yeah.
She scares my family though because she follows me around like a dog and she responds to my voice commands. So
Mhm.
she's an awesome cat. But my family's out of town and they live 7 minutes away and I go over there, check the plants, water them, and get the mail.
Mhm.
One night I get a call because there's a cat in their house on the cameras. And I'm like, what do you mean a cat in the house? So they thought I left the door open. I went down and checked. No cat inside. So I'm thinking they may have misunderstood something. They sent me the video.
Mhm.
I shit you not, Nancy. That cat that was walking around in the bedroom that bypassed all the other cameras in the house to reach the bedroom looked exactly like my cat, who I couldn't find at that point in time. So I'm
Oh
like,
my
is this cat
goodness.
teleporting? So now the running joke is my cat can teleport.
Mm.
Um, let's go on to our second to the last card, which is Judgment. Um, this symbolizes judgment, your inner calling, and karma. Um, I'm asking you to define a lot of things in this interview. What would you define your inner calling as?
That's a hard one, Bobby.
That's why I asked.
I don't know. I guess Well, this, I don't know that
I
I
can
was going
tell
to
you what
say
I think
be,
your inner calling is:
what is it? What do you think?
to be that light, to be the hope, to remind people to be
Yeah.
good to each other.
Yeah.
Just watching you on screen, you can tell you're very loving and caring, and you
Well,
want the best for other
yeah, I
people.
do. I do. That's very true. Um, and I just think it's so important, and I want everybody to feel that, you know? Um, and one thing, about judgment is we're way too hard on ourselves. We're our worst judges, I think, you know.
We're our harshest judges.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
yeah.
And there's a lot to be learned from that too, because maybe we can't forget when we forgive, but if we can forgive other people, why can't we forgive ourselves?
I
You know.
agree. Oh, see, Maru agrees. Nancy has shiny kindness. It's
Oh,
true. It's just radiates off of her. That's why I was saying
well, thank you. Yeah, I love I've been, I love the chat. I'm gonna. Mm.
that.
I
Got good,
love that.
good,
What
good,
Marita
good point.
says. Somebody out there sees the earth shine too. Yes.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Earth, let's go on to our final card, which is the world. Now, the world card is represents completion, achievement, and fulfillment. I'm reading it like I don't know what it means. Um, it's also about restriction and confinement because it's associated with with Saturn.
Okay.
It's very constricting. Is anything stopping you from moving forward in the way that you want to?
It just seems like there aren't enough hours in the day. You know, I mean, I'm trying to learn uh, all of the. One of the things is with the tarot is memorization. I mean,
Mm.
and there are some minors that I still don't have down right. To where I can, and that's because of the age of my brain. you know if I had started memorizing the tarot when I was 30, it would be a lot
Meh.
different. But that's okay, because I'm learning. But there's just all of these books that I want to read, all of this I want to experience, all of this path, the fool's journey that I'm on. And when I get to the world, I think about how am I going to feed my soul and start all over again.
Start all over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we keep, you know,
I
we
can't tell you how pissed off that makes me, by the way. That's when you reach a point of completion and we have to freaking start all over
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Um,
That's yeah.
I recognize that it happens, that it's a necessity, but it's also a pain in the booty.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. But then there's that childlike wonder, Bobby.
Yeah. Then we start over
Well,
with the fool all over again.
that's right. That's right.
When I think of the fool, you know who I think of with childlike wonder? You're gonna laugh when I tell you. Ramon. I think of Ramon as the fool, always with childlike wonder. That man is
Yeah.
unflappable. I've never seen him lose it on air. He's always so sweet and comforting, and he just
And
is
don't
such
you
a bright
love his
soul.
songs that he's doing now? Oh my goodness.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was I was talking about that on one of my lives. I was like, is there something this man can't do? I mean,
I know.
you're making the rest of us look
I
bad.
mean, yeah, um, but you know what? The thing about Ramon is he's gorgeous inside and out.
That's what pisses me off. I wish he was butt ugly. Okay. I can handle one or the other. Be a great guy or be attractive. You can't be both.
But
What
not
is wrong
both,
with
not
you,
both.
greedy
Oh my God.
sucker? All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
Nancy, I'm going to open the conversation up real quick to see if anybody has a question for you before we close it out. So if anybody has a question for Miss Nancy they'd like to address or a comment you'd like to give her, please do so now. We were singing your praises before. Yes, Jay, I saw the videos.
Let's see. I saw, let's see,
Whoa,
Joe
wait,
Megan, if you
Jamaican.
could
There it is.
take one lesson you learned from this life into the next, what would it be?
Good question.
Um, it's never too late. You know, you can start anew. Every day is an opportunity to start anew. And it isn't over till it's over. You know, and
Beautiful.
I just want to be that light and take that light with me wherever I can go. And like I say, you know, if we're not the light, who's going to be?
Yeah.
You know, I
Look
mean,
who
because
showed up.
yeah. Oh, Miss Tara G. Mwah.
We love Miss Charity. I said Ramon, and this bitch pops in.
Well, that's another beautiful one, inside and out. You know.
Yes, she is.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely beautiful
Yes.
inside out. I love talking with her every
Yeah.
chance I can. Um, Nance, it has been a pleasure taking you down the fool's journey today.
Oh, I've
Um,
enjoyed it, Bobby. You're good company. You know it.
and thank you. I'd love to do some shows with you sometime. Pull
Oh,
cards. That'd be
that would
fantastic.
be wonderful. That would be wonderful. We can talk about
And
jingles we get.
absolutely. And I want to point out that Miss Majestic Oracle J said, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Not to mention, your glasses are everything. Love that style.
Ooh.
I was thinking that at the beginning of the show. Yeah, those glasses are
Well,
like a trademark,
if you've
Nancy
got to
said.
wear them, just flaunt them. You know.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for being
Been wonderful.
with us tonight. We have
Y'all are
had a
good
great time.
company.
And well, we'll see you. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel and Nancy's channel. And we'll see you on the next video. Okay, everybody?
Bye bye.
Let's see if we can end
Love
this
you all.
Goodbye. Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is